Hello everyone, I hope you're having a good day. In this video, I'll be showing you an Unholy Assassin of Bhaal build in Baldur's Gate 3. This is going to be a combination of the Assassin subclass of Rogue, as well as using the Gloomstalker Ranger, and adding in the Fighter for a nice flair. So, we'll be rolling off first here with the Ranger, because we can get our extra attack level 5, that's probably the best power spike, and we'll be using the Gloomstalker. For our favorite enemy here, if you want to have your armor proficiency, you can go with that, but I think the Bounty Hunter works best here, giving us the giving enemies disadvantage in their saving throw against the ensnaring strike. So this can be really good for just stopping targets in place. And then for our natural explorer, Beast Tamer is okay for the Find Familiar. You can blind targets with a Raven, but we can also go with the Wasteland Wanderer Fire, as that's an elemental damage type we find often, and getting half damage from it is really nice to have. Now, for our ability scores, we can go with Wisdom, but it's not essential to this build. We want to have a decent bit of Dexterity and Strength. I would recommend going all in on Dexterity, as Strength weapons aren't going to be the absolute best for us. So we could go with a nice spread of like that, 16 Wisdom, 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution. Or you can put those points into your Constitution as well and go 16 Dex, 16 Constitution, and 14 Wisdom here. Splitting between either of those works well. At level 2, we get our choice in spells, and I would recommend, obviously, the Ensnaring Strike, so we can lock targets down in place. And Hunter's Mark is also really good, so you can deal additional damage to that target. Pretty effective. Hail of Thorns is okay too, and even Long Strider for the extra movement speed can be useful. For our fighting style, Archery works well if we want to use the Sharpshooter feat. I'm never going to say no to the defense feat, because that +1 armor class is great for survivability, especially early on in the game. That's a great chance of avoiding damage, so that works too. And if you want to use a weapon in your offhand, the 2-weapon fighting also works great. So yeah, you can go with any choice here, even the 2-weapon fighting. If we want to go True Assassin, that's going to be the best choice there. So we'll roll with that. Into level 3, we get our choice in subclass. Gloomstalker is by far the best here, because this gives us a bonus +3 to initiative, so we're likely going to be moving first in combat. We also get additional 3 meters movement speed on our first turn of combat, and we get an extra free attack that deals an additional 1d8 of damage. This is a pretty nice power spike. We also get superior dark vision up to 24 meters. Dread Ambusher Hide, we can stealth away if we're in darkness. This is really useful. We also got the Umbral Shroud. Wrap yourself in the shadows, become invisible if you're obscured. And we also have Disguise Self, so we can change ourselves. And this is nice too if you have like a Gith Yankee weapon, you want to use it, you can roll with that. We also get to choose another spell here. Long Strider, again, it's very, very useful. You want to have this on somebody in your party. It's a ritual spell. And Hail of Thorns is also quite nice, so you could go with either of those. We're mostly going to be using our close range attacks here, so I'll be breaking that down in the combat section. Into level 4, we get ourselves a feat. Now, we can go with an increase to our dexterity. We already have a boost to our initiative, but if we want to ensure that we always go first, the alert feat will basically guarantee that. We can also go with the Savage Attacker to reroll our damage die on attacks. So those are some other good options. And then again, the Sharpshooter feat is also effective if we want to use crossbows, because this will give a +10 to the damage, but a -5 to the attack roll. Now, we can also do a cool combination here with taking this and Crossbow Expert and use hand crossbows that don't get disadvantage at close range, so that we can get an extra 10 damage. And with the Ballast Armor, that becomes an extra 20 damage. It becomes absolutely crazy. So that is another consideration that works very well if you want to go with something like the Sharpshooter feat and then roll up with the Crossbow Expert. But if you want to go all in on melee, we would just take a higher dexterity here and then the Savage Attacker feat. I'm going to show the crossbow version off because it is really strong. At level 5, extra attack, and we get Misty Step, which is an excellent use of a spell slot to move around. Sometimes we just need that for the movement that it brings. Now, there's a couple ways we can go. Spike Growth is great for concentration. You can set up difficult terrain. Silence can make you a mage hunter or mage killer, and silence and immune to thunder damage. Just be mindful not to use thunder against those targets. But this is really good. Being able to silence a target means they can't cast spells from that bubble. And there's certain fights in the game that are really trivialized by using silence. But Spike Growth is likely a better choice for a concentration, just to hold down some ground. At level 6, we're actually going to multi-class here into the Rogue. So the big benefit that we get at level 2 is these extra bonus action dash and disengage. And then into level 3, we can take a subclass, which the Assassin being the point of this one. The Thief's also great if you want to use this for the extra bonus action. That's an extra offhand attack, which is very good. However, the Assassin gives you advantage on attack rolls against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet. You get a successful attack roll against a surprise creature is a critical hit, which is really good too if you're able to assassinate a target. And you get the Assassin's Alacrity. So if you start combat by attacking someone, you get your action bonus action back. Normally when you attack someone, you lose that action. Even if you're a fighter with 2 extra attacks per action, you lose your entire action. So this is a pretty nice spike in terms of our offensive capabilities. We can take the feat, but I think it's actually best to, at this point, add in the fighter. And if you want to, the barbarian. The barbarian actually makes us a pretty brute fighter, but we can't cast spells. So the fighter works well here because we get ourselves another fighting style so we can make up for missing out on the defense. But we can also go with the archery to give us a +2 to range weapon attacks. What's good about this is this works on our offhand crossbows. This works on our both crossbows. So it's a big boost to our damage. At level 2, action surge. Enough said. And then level 3, we get to choose a subclass. The new arcane archer actually fits thematically here because we can roll with our arrow attacks here. But some of them don't really get a huge benefit. Like piercing arrow sounds great on paper, but it doesn't get the double damage from piercing, so it's okay. Whereas I think the battle master actually makes the most sense here, because with the battle master you get maneuvers, and we can take riposte, which deals an additional 1d8 of damage on an attacker that misses us with an attack. Then we can also take menacing attack to frame the target, and even disarming attack to remove their weapon. Now another good choice if you want to go more spellcaster, and this can actually work very well, is because we get Booming Blade from the fighter here, and this is very good. Booming Blade, and then our bonus one will take Mage Hand. We can set this up before we get into a fight, and it can throw healing potions at us, keeping us alive. It can also throw water for your sorcerers to be able to do their double damage from lightning and cold spells. So that's really good. And then we can also get Shield, which gives us more survivability. And then Magic Missile for removing Unstoppable, like a true Assassin of Bhaal. And then for our expanded spell slot, you can even go with like Enhanced Leap there. We can go back and take the Find Familiar, but we also get Expeditious Retreat, gain a dash immediately, and as a bonus action each of your turns until the spell ends. So that's another consideration there. As a bonus action, you can run away with it. We don't have intelligence for spell casting, so we don't want to take any spells that really rely on intelligence. But again, you can go with the Battle Master. I just think that adding in Booming Blade just makes us so much stronger. So we may as well take advantage of the powerful cantrip that is Booming Blade. And then for our level 4, we get ourselves another feat or another spell here. You could go with Mage Armor if you want to use clothing. There's no real best clothing options. I guess Protection from Good and Evil isn't a choice. We're not really going to use spells much on this build. We're using the spell slots, however, which we do get some from this. Now, the final thing that we're going to go with is the Crossbow Expert, as I mentioned. So you make a crossbow attack at close range. So this just gives us an extra ability to set up and do some crazy damage with close range crossbow attacks, which I'll show you why we're going to go with this. Again, you want to focus on melee, take 2 increases to your dexterity. So we'll be using the orange daggers. Those just make the most sense here for this build. Early game, you can go with the best available, the Knife of the Undermountain King being a great choice. Stillmaker is another good one. This gives you a level 3 hold person. The Doldor Amaris daggers that give additional 7 damage on critical hits also work really well. So all geared up here, we got the evasive shoes for a better armor class. Although if you got the Illithid ability drain, you can take the boots of Stormy Clamor to stack reverberation on targets, which is pretty good to have. And the Helldust boots, which will make it so that we don't get hit by difficult terrain. If we fail a saving throw, you can use a reaction to succeed instead, which is pretty crazy. And you also get the Hellcrawler ability, which is basically a teleport that does fire damage as a bonus action per short rest. So that's definitely the best in slot, but it's a late game item, so you don't have to use that. The Spring Step shoots are also nice because the momentum that you get from dashing, since we bonus action dash, that gives us an extra 4.5 meters of movement speed. So that can be pretty good. And also Nair's boots from Act 1 also work really well. So there's a few different early game options. For gloves, Helldust gloves will add additional spell save DC, which is not super useful, but it's there. You get Raise of Fire, and you do additional fire damage on our attacks. So that's also nice. We can also go with like the Crater Flesh gloves. Whenever we hit a critical hit, we do additional damage. Even if you want the Strength gloves. Also, we got ourselves the Wondrous gloves to add additional armor class. So if you wanted to boost up your armor class, you got that choice as well. We already have the gloves of the Balanced Hand basically built in. Gloves of Dexterity can also be a consideration if you want to dump Dexterity and put extra into your intelligence. We do have maneuver. If we took the Battle Master, we could use the Gauntlet's Ward Master. Not super useful, but it's an option. Ballast gloves, the Garrot attack, also an option. But I think Helldust gloves end up being the best choice. The Ballast Armor. This is just the theming of this. So this makes it so that targets within 3 meters become vulnerable to piercing damage unless they're immune to it. And +2 to initiative rolls. Pretty good. Additional initiative, we basically will always go first. And we'll always be able to set up to apply weakness of piercing damage. So this works great with a sword bard because you can get into the combat, protect your team, and then also at the same time, anyone with a bow is going to deal double damage to the enemies that are close to that. Now this is I don't normally use this item, but this is the best one. So if you're going to be the Dark Urge, this works perfectly. The Deathstalker Mantle turns you invisible once you get a kill. Crazy. If not, Cloak of Protection will put our armor class up a little higher. I have the helmet Baldur on. This will heal you, give you +1 armor class and saving throws. Early game, the haste helmet for the extra movement speed is really good. If you want to use more spells, you could use the helmet of arcane acuity, or even the the headband of intellect here to give you extra spell casting. The assassin of Bhaal cowl can give you extra 2 to your bonus armor class, which can be good. The scrappy pugilist will also give you additional 2 damage when you're surrounded by 2 or more foes. And if you want to go full in on the darkness, the Steel Watcher helmet will give you the ability to not be blinded and advantage on Constitution saving throw checks. Now, if you have arrows of darkness, this ends up being the best choice, or the Eversight ring to give yourself dark vision. You can also go with the Shar Spear of the Night if you wanted to, for the ability to get dark vision, and you can create darkness with your attacks. Now, we got ourselves these 2 blades here, and I would recommend putting Crimson Mischief in your main hand, because when you attack with advantage, the target takes additional 7 piercing damage, doubled by ballast armor for 14. Pretty crazy. And if the target has less than half their health, they take an additional 1d4 piercing, which again can be doubled. And when this weapon here, Blade of the First Blood, is in the offhand, now that's the reason I didn't go with the Battle Master here, is because when a creature misses you, you may retaliate and gain True Strike. So you basically get a riposte here that will apply True Strike, which gives advantage on your next attack roll. And this also gives you a +1 to your armor class when it's in the offhand, so that's kind of nice as well. You can go with some higher armor class gear if you wanted to, but I'm also using the Hellfire hand crossbow in the offhand when hitting a burning target. You inflict burning when you hit a hiding target. It also gives you Scorching Ray. And then also the Fire Stoker for the additional piercing damage. You can also use the Nair Mister as well as an offhand crossbow. It's really good. Ring of Protection, +1 armor class. Killer Sweetheart for free crit and Amulet of Greater Health. Now, we got some really good close range capabilities with the Hellfire hand crossbow and the Fire Stoker. So if you wanted to use Shar Spear of the Evening, you can go with this. As I mentioned, early game, there's best available dagger. The Dolar Amaris is another good choice. But I'll show you what this looks like with Shar Spear of the Evening for a true assassin playstyle, because you can use crossbows from the darkness and hide out in it. So I'll show you what this looks like in combat. So the beautiful thing about the assassin is when you attack, you can actually get your action back. So that's really good. What this means is we can start off combat by setting up our old darkness pocket here. So we can go ahead with an attack and potentially take the target out. And then the beautiful thing about darkness is we can also just hide out in the darkness. So then we can go ahead. I would recommend turning off your dual wielding whenever possible. So if you go to the crossbows there, make sure you have the dual wielding turned off. And then we can go ahead with range attacks out of here, and we make them with advantage. Now, another nice thing is we can use Arrow of Darkness to further set up our invisibility pockets. And then we can also roll with Arrow of Many Targets to hit multiple targets. So it won't actually work right yet since we aren't actually in a combat encounter. But it's a pretty good way to get started with a fight. So then we can also, again, use the darkness arrows to further multiply our coverage. And then we can use this to keep ourselves hidden and continually create some chaos. So that's one of the fun things about assassin style playthroughs is with darkness, nobody knows what's really happening. So things can get really weird really quickly. So boom, we were able to take out one of our targets there. And we're still in turn-based combat. So you can leave turn-based. They're still figuring out what's happening. And they don't know because we're in darkness until they are able to spot us. So yeah, this can be pretty crazy. Good way to start off our fight. And then what we can do is start with our Arrow of Many Targets. So Arrow of Many Targets are very powerful. We're going to try and take out this archer first, and boom, you see it there. That just ripped through everybody. Yeah, it gets a little crazy. And anytime there's multiple targets in an area, I would always recommend going with an Arrow of Many Targets because the damage from it is just going to be nuts. And we're attacking from advantage from darkness. And you can see there, just continually ripping around, adding our fire damage riders. We also have our mage hand here, which is nice because I've put a healing potion down, and we're going to use that to be able to throw those at if we do need some health. Now, we may as well go with another Arrow of Many Targets here because we're starting to have more allies popping in. The thing is, we have the ballast armor, so we want to get them close range to us. So ideally, they would try to find us, and we were able to take out both those targets there. So that's perfect. And we'll go with another arrow since there's multiple of them right there. Ideally, we would get up in their face and then also use this. If you have enough movement speed to get there and back from darkness, you can roll with that and then use the Arrow of Many Targets, which will do double damage. Boom, shredding through, critical hits. And then we got our extra Dread Ambusher attack, which is going to deal additional damage. So I might save that one because we still have an action surge that we can use. So then we can go ahead again with some more Arrows of Many Targets to just hit multiple targets there. You can also don't have to use those, but you saw there 2 Arrows of Many Targets that shredded through 3 people. And then we can go ahead with our Dread Ambusher attack with a free action. And we still had an action from our attack. So yeah, that becomes pretty crazy. It's the first time that I've ever taken out all the guards without anyone resisting. just to go to show how powerful this build truly is. And yeah, and then we also got our little mage hand friend here. If things go south, we can go whoop, pick it up, and then splash. Here it is. You got your healing, and yeah, it was a nice 38 heal. So yeah, the Assassin of Bhaal build, sharpshooter in addition to the crossbow experts. You can do those close range attacks, having that spear there for darkness and the ability to see within it. This is a true assassin build in Baldur's Gate 3. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.